Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Trekyards.
And today we're talking about the latest episode of Discovery. This is Season 4, Episode 5, The Examples. So, what are your thoughts on this episode?
Well, it's funny, we just talked to Sean from Trek Culture, and a whole lot of stuff to say with him. And I think this is the best episode of this season by an absolute mile. So I really enjoyed it. I'm glad the show kind of started finally. And it went from like a gear 4 to a gear 8 in terms of like momentum. It had a strong A story, a pretty strong B story, and an engaging C story. And any D story was part of the A and B and C and just added to it. I was sort of surprised how good it was because they haven't really focused on an A story too much. And I was quite pleased, before I let you see what you think, I was quite pleased they didn't make the new scientist man the cliche of the annoying everyone hates him guy. He was sort of implied that way, but he ends up being much more likable than the dialogue implies going in. So I prefer the balance they struck there. So yeah, all round, best one they made, hands down for me. What about you, Stuart? This is what he says your least favourite.
No, I liked it. I wouldn't say it's my least favorite at all this season. It's definitely felt like an episode of Star Trek, which is good. Got some references to some species that we know. I like the new scientist guy. I kind of understand Stamets's hesitation with working with him, considering that he hasn't even asked him anything about the spore drive, and he's working on the next generation of that tech, which is interesting. But I really like the actor, and the character didn't bother me at all. All stories were interesting. I wasn't really too invested in the prisoner story, and Book's anger towards Burnham I think is unjustified. What we've kind of expected all along, that it was an artificial anomaly and that it's going to be jumping around, and that's kind of what we needed to get this season going now, which is fine. I mean, it's going to... Is it targeted at specific things, and if so, why this colony? I mean,
it's kind of the Tyler Vok reveal because we knew it had to move. You said that from the first episode, pretty much. We talked about it being we've called this from the first time we saw it, so it's not a surprise. But unlike that reveal, it's quite a satisfying jumping off point, and it's a very well played intro. So it's like it's a satisfying. Well, obviously it has to be a threat somehow. Okay, now it's a threat. Although they skip to we have scans of the device that generates it. It's like, oh.
The new scientist guy, Ruan Tarka, who's from Ryza, interesting.
Yeah!
Is a likable guy, but yeah, I don't know how he got... See, it makes me wonder, and even at the end, when Book's like... Yeah, the music was very intense there, like, there's kind of like a sinister undertone to it. So how much does he know? He does say he doesn't know who did it. I think he might know people that are... Maybe somebody he knows was affected by these people, and he's kind of on a vendetta himself, and is not going to reveal it necessarily.
I just got more of a sense of... He's explicitly there because he's on the cutting edge. He is the cutting edge scientist, so he has his brain in more pots than other people, so he has more theories than most people, than Vance could consider. So while Vance is saying, it could be this ancient race we know had power once long ago, he's like, well, it could be, or it could be the Krenim, or I've really thought about this in the last 5 minutes, and because my brain's so fast, so I took it more as I have 7 ideas. I don't know, I really don't know, but I'm already making those connections in my brain.
Well, let's rattle off the ones that were suggested: the Metrons, the Nasine, surviving members of the Iconians, and the Q continuum, which ironically hasn't been heard from for 600 years. Which I found pretty interesting as well. So they're naming this species Unknown Species 10C. And Sarah's like, 10C, like what happened to A and B? I don't know.
It's just as bad a name as the DMA. Well, talk us through that first scene then, though. The impact it had on you when it disappeared. And
we got 3 ships, one of which was a new, looks like a Navarian cruiser. The other ones were familiar enough. We've kind of talked about them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but the Janeway, which is weird that the Janeway wasn't a... Yeah, so that was an obvious thing to do, but okay.
Well, the DMA just winks out and is gone for 4.2 seconds and then shows up somewhere else, I guess. Although on the map it looked like it showed up in the same spot.
I like Jet's complete, what's going on? He's like, it moved! What do you mean? It's like, no, this is huge! It's like...
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
It was good seeing her in this episode. Grumpy girl over there. Grumpy lady.
I think felt quite different to season 3 and 2.
I wouldn't say so. She's just having an off day. She's not very snarky today. She's very compliant. I don't know.
To me, felt more like an actual crew member. Rather
Yeah, well, I think
than...
that's what they're going for now. Finally.
Yeah, because season 2, she was just, a stray puppy, in a sense. Season 3, she was also pulled into the future, doesn't even know anybody, and just there because she's there. And then, bitch at Stamets for really no reason except personality. So it's kind of odd to see her so underused, but like appropriately used. It was really strange. Like, didn't have even half the personality, but felt a lot more appropriate. Kind of like Burnham as well. It's weird. So I was like, oh, it's Reno.
Yeah, it was good to see her back. Hopefully we'll see more of her. I do like the character, so...
Now, there is a sort of an absence of this episode of actually a lot of elements. They didn't have any of the Federation President, none of the Navarian President, none of the Grey Adira, no Adira at all, none of Tilly of the Academy, and none of the 2 bridge crew frontrunners who were just absent. So it was they removed a lot of the parts of the first 4, which were super like continuing elements. But I kind of think the pieces that were left over were stronger, because the fact that we didn't see Detmer and Washington was like, well, where are they? Okay, you didn't think they're not getting screen time because they're not there on the bridge. Adira wasn't present, and that was fine. The other scientists took the role. We didn't need the Academy stuff, and it all seemed very efficient. I think Book was appropriately used, because it felt more of a, well, we know the pairing of Sonequa and David works really well. We know everyone likes that. If we need to put our hero in this position because she's Michael Burnham, she always does that. It makes sense to put him there too, so they have lines together. So I'm like, it functionally is good stuff, even if it's like, why didn't you bring a whole team down? Normally a captain bring an away team, and it works for Discovery logic.
That's true. I mean, there should have been more people on her team for sure. She had kind of one of the most dangerous things. The other thing, the assignment that Reese got, promoted to,
He got a new line!
Yeah, the fact that he actually got something and got a little bit of backstory for his character as well. I was hoping we'd see more of his doing something. That was
strange, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I thought he was going to be the main guy, like, going in to get these people out. That's kind of the vibe that I got from the Order. But then it's quickly shifted. Anyway, he got something. Bryce was absent again. We had the other guy, Johnson, I think his name is, on comms. And the return of Kovic, which, how big a part is Kovic going to play this season? I don't know, but I love seeing the character. He should join the Kawat a lot, man. He's got absolute candor for sure. So, I mean, it was good seeing more of Reese. I just wish we would have seen more of Reese again. Like, I like the guy. He's a good actor, or a good character at least, from what we know of him. And I'd like to know more. So
I definitely assumed we were going to see beaming. That said, though, there is no need for a transport room anymore, and you can kind of sense they've dismantled the set already for other sets, because we haven't seen it for over a year now.
You say that, but there is need for beaming still, because not everybody has the comm badges, right?
Well, they could just beam down with comm badges. I mean, they just give everyone.
Yeah, but if you're beaming up people, like in this instance of evacuation, you need transporters on the ship to pull people up. So you'd still need transporter rooms. You'd still need that kind of tech. So
that's what I mean. I'm surprised we didn't see that process, because it kind of... That's the thing, they say we can only do 40 at a time, which is... I love a limitation. I'm pretty sure every other Enterprise can do more than 40.
They can, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, the cargo transporters alone on the Enterprise D, I mean, I'm sure you put up hundreds, maybe like 200 or 300 at a time.
I think they say in one episode of TNG how many they can evacuate at a time, because they start evacuating people, so...
But that said, it kind of implies to me that, yes, they are sort of... It's all revolved around the comm badge tech, because they haven't used transporter rooms. They haven't needed to for like 300 years. So it's like, well, we don't have a room for it. What do you mean? We have these little pods that, because they walk in and out of transporters or badges. So it's like, evacuation. We'll just put down a pod and people beam in. It'll be quick, 40 at a time. But I kind of like that if they're so advanced now, we can do further range and they're micro, but we can only do 40 now. It's an interesting swap, which I liked, actually.
And speaking of badges, let's hand our badge that also has the capability of being a tricorder and a transporter and a communicator to a criminal, a self-professed murderer, knowing that, should that tech get into somebody's hands that shouldn't have it, that could be bad. But just saying, that one was kind of like, what are you doing? Although I like when she takes it off. She's got the the plate, and it's got like her serial number and stuff on it.
I know what you mean, but I would assume there's safeties in it that stop it from being used from anyone except
I'm sure.
personnel.
I'm sure too, but all you got to do is break it apart and reverse engineer it if you really wanted to.
And he's either going to blow up in the next 44 minutes,
Yeah,
or
I know.
he's the one person that can't run fast. So I think it's like, you know. Well, let's talk about the prison then. So they for some reason it's just Book and Burnham, which I thought was quite strange. It was just them. They beam in. This is the set we saw in the LED wall trailer. So very effective use, actually. The rocks were good and the bugs were clever and the set looked great. It was definitely well balanced. You can kind of tell that they actually use more depth of field in the LED wall for the close-ups because it looks more real, more out of focus it is. And so a lot of this stuff's super out of focus, but it just looks more real. Near the end, when the chap is standing there by himself, you see all the beautiful hair detail that on a green screen you'd lose at least some of that, if not a lot of that, because that's just the nature of green screen. Whereas on, that sort of hair would be like, please don't do that on a green screen. Now it's just like, yes, have the shittiest hair possible, because so as a CGI artist, I'm just like, that is so detailed because it has to be. So what do you think of the prison stuff then? 'Cause it was a decent third of the episode.
Like I said, that's kind of where it lost me. It was a dingy looking dark planet and set, and that's fine. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be. It's a prison. But it just wasn't super captivating for me. I liked the main prisoner there that died at the end. I liked that character and the actor. I thought he was great. And one of the things I did like about that scene in particular, the prison break, is we see solid, sustained phaser beams instead of pulses all the time. So, I mean, phasers doing what they're supposed to do is fantastic. I do like the pulse option is not a problem for me, really, but just show a phaser beam, like that's what you would do. Obviously, that's what the episode is named after, the examples. One person's in there for stealing some food and, just minor little things that they're going to be there for their life sentence, which in one case was 30 years.
They're all it's a flat rate. Everyone was 30.
Asking for asylum and protection from the Federation is not unjustified at all in that case, and I can't believe Burnham took so long to agree to it. I know she can't really get involved, but once they're on the ship, they can do that, and considering what they're charged with, I mean, it makes perfect sense to have a case reviewed.
Although, obviously, you are trusting convicted prisoners on a prison.
True.
So, they're not, and he wasn't
then let
truthful.
the Federation justice system hash that out. That's their job.
But I guess it's her responsibility to make sure they get to the ship or not, and checking them out first was important. Yeah.
The other thing, I would not have left them with all of the other colonists as far as the evacuation goes, because the guy comes in and says, "Put them in the brig. We don't want to." Of course, like one of them absolutely could be lying. The murderer guy actually lied. Nobody knew about his murder. I don't think he was in there for something else, and he was just hiding that secret. So how do we know that the other ones aren't the same thing and they're going to start taking over the ship if they have free access to everything, or at least confine them to a separate cargo area or something? Maybe not necessarily the brig because that was part of your agreement with them, but
yeah, seeking asylum doesn't mean they get freedom on your ship.
No, not free reign. No, absolutely not.
So yeah, I like this story because it was a very TNG-esque.
Yes, it was
subplot,
yeah,
and again, Burnham did it the right way, methodically, informatively. You saw the pain in her face of trying to juggle these different roles and not roles. I like the fact that they didn't, they said, well, we're not even going to leave until you do X, Y, and Z. I kind of liked the forced justice. It's such an unnecessary plot in the grand scheme because it's these literally 4 people's lives or 6, whatever. And it's never going to be referred to again. But it's seeing Burnham make a real command decision, a la Picard, okay, with a phaser in hand the whole time, that's fine, but still very much that. And yeah, the main actor was very compelling. It's hard because obviously we've had a billion other stories where they actually argue about, well, we have to follow the laws of other species. It would have been nice to have seen like one shot of the normal colony space, not just the grumpy asteroid, because everything felt like, they're just grubby miners that live on a very cool like asteroid configuration. But it would be nice in one shot of, like I said, Reese in a lovely little tower block with survivors being walk into a
everybody
transporter thing.
Everybody calmly in a line, just agreeing everything's nice. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, him handing out like lollipops to the kids. You know, just like a scene of like the normal would have been really, really good, I think, to kind of counteract.
And Burnham chimes in. How's it going over there? Oh, it's rough, man. We're working as hard as we can.
There's so many people, and she's there fighting the bugs. Yeah, there's too many people here. Yeah, well, good luck. Yeah, I think that would have been really good, although lots of extras to hire, obviously. But I think it was a good overall thing. That story's a little bit too long, potentially, but the acting's so good, and it is a good story for Burnham. So it's like, but the story's so good as well, so it doesn't detract from me. It just is a long subplot.
Yeah, it just took too much of the time of the episode for me. I was enjoying the other stuff a lot more. The DMA stuff with Tarka and Stamets. That was great. Like the little DMA that they created and got down to 5% for the containment field, and Sir was like, "Nope, done."
I'm sorry, blame Stamets. This is like, damn it, Tom. It's like, no, you're about to kill us all. What do you mean? I gave you every second.
I mean, the other plot, I guess, is the Hugh plot, where I love how Kovac is just like, you died. There's very little in your record talking about that. That's kind of a unique thing, and you just feel guilty every waking minute for being one of the people that died and came back. It's a slap in the face to everybody that's lost somebody, which is everyone. I never considered that really before, but when it was laid out like that, it's like, yeah, shit. His scenes with Stamets, even, you know, them offering each other advice and stuff, I thought were good enough. And that subplot had this exact amount of time it needed. Each of those scenes was just perfect, but yeah, the prison stuff just dragged a little bit.
Those scenes are fantastic. I just wish they'd set them up at all, except last week when he swore into a book. If you're gonna have this big, I died and I'm upset about it, have subtle hints throughout the season, because that is literally the defining moment of his entire second life, and it basically comes out of nowhere, and it should have 1,000,000,000% more payoff, giving us one moment last week, which we knew was going to be something, and then pay it off instantly. While the scenes are fantastic, it's like, oh, okay, here it is. It's like, pacing.
When he came back, there was like an episode or two where he was kind of spaced out, and then all of a sudden everything was fine. So we remember talking about that, going, okay, what's up with him? Is he still not himself, or is, you know, something? And then all of a sudden it's fine. It's like, okay. And then all of a sudden, yes, last episode, there's a problem. And it did kind of come right back out of nowhere. I think it was season 2 where he came back. Yeah, like I said, 1 or 2 episodes there, and then all of this space of time, everything seemed fine. So, yeah, I agree with you there.
It's as if they have an Excel document with active plots and secondary plots, and they just occasionally pull one back out of the recycle bin of like, oh, yeah, let's just throw that in. It's like, but we haven't talked about it in 19 episodes.
Well, they got...
Yeah. He's still back from the dead. Who cares? So.
They got 17 pages of notes, and, like... Page 16 is blank, and page 17 has like 3 things on it, and they only scroll down so far, see the blank page, and
Colbert did come back to life. Oh yeah, we should use that. but that bad pacing aside, beautiful scenes. Wilson was an amazing actor, great scene partner as well. The clinical yet still emotionful. He balances it somehow really well, and I really loved how the first scene with and it's good to see the two of them together because they're married. I mean, they have so little time together that they're just almost just working partners. But him saying, you know, can we talk about it? And Wilson's basically saying no, and shoot him down very like direct is like quite an uncomfortable moment of like, oh, that's a good little writing trick they don't expect. So yeah, that was a really nice. I just wish it came out of not just nowhere.
It definitely felt again like a TNG episode with the different
right out of TNG, yeah,
and the way they were handled. So that's a good thing. That if they've figured that formula out, which they seem to have done this season, I'm more on board for sure.
Well, and because every character had a little bit of personal drama, but not too negative. There wasn't people being annoying for no reason. There wasn't too many bad mistakes really. Everything was elevated, and even Book at the end being annoyed at Burnham. It isn't annoyed at Burnham. It's just annoyed at the concept of anyone dying on a planet. It's just the frustration of the universe giving him another reason to hate this thing. It is not her at all, and he'll go over that really quickly. It's not it's just a manifestation of the bigger problem.
Yeah, I just didn't appreciate his attitude towards that because he was there. He saw exactly what happened. She really didn't have much of a choice.
He would rather he stunned her and forced him, and then he would have been pissed. I mean, it's a no-win situation, and she went with respecting his wishes. Which
again is character development for Burnham because normally she would just stun him, drag him out, and do whatever against his will. Yeah. So,
and I will say I was quite intrigued about the, once this is now a man or alien or, an artificial phenomenon, which we said from the beginning. Yeah, the universe now being scared all of a sudden is such a visceral. I really felt that through the dialogue. Once that knowledge spreads, it changes it from oh no, there's a big bad blob out there to oh no, someone is killing planets, and it's 10 light years wide. Stuff's gonna start breaking down. All come together, and it does not remove in any means our strategy or our discussion about it being, people from the Gamma Quadrant, Delta Quadrant, other galaxies. They say that initial thingy came in through a time-space rip, so it's travel is part of the process.
And while I was watching that's what I was thinking. Like, they're making these people out to be such sinister baddies. I have a feeling it's going to be somebody that's inadvertently just trying to escape somewhere else. Like I said, if it's another Brokaw Federation faction that was during the burn and got, trying to experiment with something, got thrown to another galaxy, and now they're trying to get home. The reveal is going to be like, oh my god, these people didn't mean any harm. It was all an accident, and Book's going to be pissed at them because it killed his planet. Like, I can see a lot of potential there. So I don't think it's going to be anything necessarily malicious.
Because I am assuming, because the way it's framed, and you said this right at the start of this review, the first time, we don't know when it appeared, because they just found it when it caused gravitational anomalies. So it might have appeared thousands of light years from, or hundreds of light years from anything living, and then it moved. And this next one, it arrived 4 hours away from a random asteroid base with no discernible, not a big, in the grand scheme of space, that is not a massively, there's 1,100 people minus the people who escaped. That's literally the smallest colony possible in the abstract. I mean, a ship has more people. So it didn't feel like it was targeting. So I like the idea that it can appear somewhere else, and then because of the size of it, galactic drift, like galactic gravity, that affects it and makes it move, and so they can move it somewhere else. But just because of the nature of the universe, it creates its own. Oh, now it's going left, and there's obviously something somewhere that it'll destroy of different degrees. It just happenstance to be that thing. So I'm perfectly. There's no evidence to say it necessarily targets anything yet. So I very satisfying actually, these things, and we were right with Sean. Stuff finally started, Stuart. We finally started. There you go.
If you haven't watched our live with Sean Ferrick, I'd suggest go checking it out. It's a pretty good discussion. So, but anyway, yeah, I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. I did enjoy the episode. Best of the season. I'll have to watch it again. It's definitely close to.
It was a tight story. It was pretty focused.
So comment down below what you thought of this episode. Let us know your thoughts. We love hearing your thoughts. So if you haven't checked out the live that we did yesterday, which would normally be today, go check it out because we did a full breakdown and review. Yeah. And if you want to join us for those lives, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please like this video, and if you can help us out in any way possible, likes are a great way, as are.
Take it away, Sam!
Yes,
yeah. Patreon, PayPal, join the channel, YouTube, and of course, just like the subscribe, as you said. But those super chats, honestly, on the YouTube videos make a huge, big difference during those lives. We love the interaction, we love the conversation, and often one thing can drive a whole new wonderful tangent, and we love those.
That's right. So until next time, guys, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Coggins.
We'll see you guys in the future. Bye.